Sky News at 10, and time now for our press preview. A first look at what's making the front pages as they arrive. And joining us for tomorrow's headlines, television presenter and former Met Police detective Jacqui and the People's political columnist Nigel Nelson. Welcome to both of you. Thanks for being with civil servants. Bedpan duty will be step up the career path for civil servants. This is an interesting one.
This is fascinating. This is a response to the Francis report into the neglect at Mid Staffordshire Trust, and it's basically setting the bar for all Whitehall officials to spend time on the front line. And from next month, 200 of their most senior officials will have to start swapping their briefcases and suits for mops and overalls. And basically they're saying that they're going to have to change bedpans, mop the floors, because they don't want them to be able to have to do jobs where there is sort of specific skills required. They will have to do those menial, grotty tasks. Which will be actually interesting. I think we should have a reality TV show following them around to see how they get on.
It's almost a...
I think it's actually a really good way of actually showing that they're prepared to get out and get stuck in. And I think that's really important, because there is so much criticism about the elitism within government and the fact that our mandarins are living in some sort of...
the so-called disconnect of the political...
Absolutely. And I think some of our politicians, and Ian Duncan Smith is one that does get out there, David Davis, another one gets out there quite a bit. Right. And I think we should see an awful lot more.
More from tomorrow's papers, more from Jacqui and Nigel as we head to the inside pages of the Star, page 2. And it's not Nigel Farage once more, but it's the man in the hat at the top, Sir Ken Knight. Firefight, it says, over cut in brigades.
Yeah, there's a battle looming between, well, as you say, Sir Ken Knight, former Chief Fire and Rescue Advisor, has produced a report basically saying that because there's been a 40% drop in call-outs over the past decade, that's a good reason for huge cuts across the service. He's suggesting £200 million worth of cuts, merging brigades and... obviously reducing staff. Obviously the union now we're going to be squaring up to him, saying that this could in fact cost lives, and in the last 3 years alone 3,500 firefighters have already disappeared, so they've already had huge cuts.
But going back to Scotland, I think they've actually started this process in Scotland of a national fire service.
Exactly. That doesn't make sense. Because economics is driving this at the bottom line, and police forces are already starting to share services and merge departments across constabulary borders, and I think that's what's going to happen in fire prevention. How do you measure that? You know, it takes a lot of time and effort and money to go around and instigate policies in different areas to prevent fires. How do you put a price on that? You know, the fact there's been reduced.
If you actually prevented a number of fires, that's a success story rather than saying that you don't
rather than saying, oh, we'll cut all the system. Then actually, what you're doing is cutting the prevention. Then.
Yeah. Okay. So, plenty there for Jacqui and Nigel to take a look at. And I suppose the most dramatic front pages are on the so-called red tops. We'll take the Mirror first. There is that familiar image of Madeleine with all the sort of various public appeals, I suppose you'd say, over the years for help. Nothing has emerged from that, and now something perhaps rather more concrete from the police?
Well, what's happened is the New Scotland Yard have produced this review headed by Deputy Superintendent Hamish Campbell into an independent review into the Portuguese investigation, and he's come up with his report. Now, Hamish Campbell is a very experienced man who takes a long time to consider things, very detailed, very considered about the language he uses, and the one word he doesn't use is suspects in any of the reports that I've seen.
People of interest is the phrase.
And that's
what does that actually mean?
Well, it's a very different thing. It just means that throughout his trawling through and his team have trawled through all the paperwork and the interviews and the witness statements that have been taken and all the lines of inquiry that have been followed up, they've identified people who perhaps should be gone back to speak to again. And it's by
the Portuguese police or by the Met?
Well, the Met obviously don't have jurisdiction in Portugal.
Exactly.
Whether or not the Portuguese will invite them to assist them as a result of the inquiries they've done is another matter. But certainly the Metropolitan Police don't have jurisdiction. They can't force the Portuguese police to do anything. But I am concerned about this leap that's being made into the area of suspects, because there is no indication.
That's the word that's being used there on the front of the Express, with some additional information, quoting Hamish Campbell saying it was possible that Madeleine could still be alive. Now, I don't think that's actually said in his official statement.
No.
And we go back to the Mirror, and certainly that's the line they've gone for with their headline, that she may be alive. Is that the sort of language he would use?
I would suggest that what he's saying is that there's no evidence either way at the moment.
Right.
Nothing that he's found that could suggest that she's dead, but there's nothing to suggest either that she's alive. So he's had to be very careful and say, well, as there's no... and I'm making a leap here myself, because as there's no potential evidence that she's actually dead, they have to have the option open that she may well still be alive.
Yeah, I guess it puts those poor parents through the ringer all over again, doesn't it?
And it's so important that they're really kept up to date with everything that's going on, and it does sound like they are being kept up to date with all the detail that perhaps we don't have.
Yeah. Thank you for that, and we're just going to finish with a tasty morsel of olive oil on the front of the Telegraph. Or not, as the case may be. Is that right?
Well, this is a gift to our friend Nigel Farage again, but yes, the EU are saying, starting to regulate olive oil, whereas you go into a restaurant and have a nice jug of olive oil to just pour into your salad or whatever, now saying that it's got to be sealed and labelled so you know exactly what you're getting, and it's all getting a bit silly, really.
As you indicated, like a plastic sachet probably along with vinegar. What has life come to it? Thank you very much indeed for your offerings, and we'll see you again soon. Weather's coming up next.